On this episode of the Comic Arcade, we take a look at The Punisher, published by Capcom in 1993, as an arcade game and also a Genesis port. Let's check it out. Frank Castle, aka The Punisher, first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man 129, published on February 1974. In this issue, he was trying to kill Spider-Man, who was wanted for the murder of Norman Osborn. The Punisher is no-holds-barred kind of guy. He believes that the ultimate punishment and the only punishment fitting for any criminal is death, which he carries out gladly. He is judge, jury, and executioner. The Punisher isn't the only playable character in this game. For a second option, you also could choose Nick Fury, the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury first appeared in Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos #1, published on May 1963. This was pre-S.H.I.E.L.D. and even pre-eye patch Nick Fury. He led the team called the Howling Commandos during World War II. This series lasted 167 issues. The Punisher arcade game was published by Capcom in 1993. This is one of the first video games that Marvel published through Capcom. They've had a long storied relationship since then. The game starts with a little pre-scene of what happened and how the Punisher became the Punisher. You see him, Frank Castle, with his family in the park, and you see them as they're gunned down. I really enjoy the cutscenes here. They're very bright, vibrant, and drawn well, as if they're taken right from the comic books, which I believe they were. On stage 1, you're fighting multiple enemies inside of a bar. There's tons of breakable environments and things to collect. As you work your way through the bar, you're looking for mob enforcer Bruno Costa. He's the guy you're after during most of this game. Well, at least the first half of the game. And just when you're about to get your hands on Bruno Costa, he takes a bus hostage and you run into your first boss, Chester Skully. Chester Skully first appeared in Punisher Volume 2, Issue 22. He's a really low-level, villain. Not much to say there. Once you finish him off, you're off to stage 2. But that's not before Frank Castle gives him a little justice and shoots him point-blank range, killing him. Told you, this game is pretty brutal. Stage 2 sees the Punisher swimming through a drain pipe to enter a resort where Bruno is held up. You again take on various armed enemies and even some female ninjas. You eventually work your way through the resort and into a prison which contains some prisoners. You eventually reach Bruno, but before you can do anything, a beam burns up Bruno and his henchmen. A guard droid sent by the Kingpin then appears, and the fight begins. Once you defeat the stage 2 boss, it's on to stage 3. In stage 3, you fight at the docks. You work your way through numerous thugs as you fight off against 2 mid-boss characters, Gus and Gal. Once you're done with them, you break your way into the warehouse where you take on even more enemies. This time they throw cyborgs at you. Shooting, punching, and kicking your way through them, you take on the stage 3 boss, Bonebreaker. Bonebreaker first appeared in Uncanny X-Men 229. He is the leader of the Reavers, a group of cyborgs. Bonebreaker's legs have been replaced with tank-like equipment and is outfitted with missile launchers and machine guns, as well as anti-aircraft missiles. Once you defeat Bonebreaker, it's off to the next stage. The next stage is basically a bonus level, much like you'll find in Street Fighter 2, but instead of using punches and kicks, you use a gun. Pretty straightforward here. In stage 4, you find yourself fighting in a poppy field. This is in the state of Arizona. You start the stage by fighting through multiple enemies and boarding a train. On this train, you can continue taking on waves of different type of enemies and using the environment to your advantage, either throwing them off the train or punching something where it causes a huge explosion and multiple enemies take damage. Once you reach the end of the stage, you take on the stage boss, Bushwhacker. Bushwhacker first appeared in Daredevil 284. Bushwhacker's right arm has been altered bionically, and he can use it as a gun. He can also change and morph his arm to make it into numerous types of weapons, like a shotgun or machine gun. Bushwhacker, whose real name is Carl Burbank, was a priest who left the ministry and joined the CIA, who gave him his bionic arm. He then became a freelance assassin. Once you're done with Bushwhacker, you take on one more guard droid. This one is more powerful and comes in red. As soon as you defeat the guard droid, you're off to the last level. In stage 5, you take the fight to Wilson Fisk by going to his hotel. You start the stage by fighting multiple enemies and then finally getting on an elevator, going up. This is where you fight a mid-level boss known as Jigsaw. Jigsaw's first full appearance was in The Amazing Spider-Man 162. He went by the name Billy the Beaut. That's until one day the Punisher decided to kick him through a pane of glass. This left him completely disfigured, hence the name Jigsaw, because his face looks like a jigsaw puzzle. After you defeat Jigsaw, is off to the final boss, which is the Kingpin. The Kingpin, aka Wilson Fisk, first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man number 50. This dropped on July 1967. The Kingpin is one of the biggest and most powerful crime bosses in New York. Some of the heroes he has multiple run-ins with include Spider-Man and Daredevil. Kingpin is strong and quick given his size, and is a brilliant tactician. As soon as you defeat the Kingpin, Nick Fury shows up. The building starts to collapse, and before he leaves, Frank Castle drops one more surprise on the Kingpin, in the form of a grenade. They both escape and watch the building collapse. Well guys, I want to thank you for tuning in on this episode. I really enjoyed making this video, and I plan to make some more. If you guys can get your hands on this game, I suggest you do. It's very fun to play. I've played it a few times and always have a good time. With that said, if you haven't, please subscribe to our channel, leave a like and a comment. Let me know what games you want to see. I really enjoy playing these games, but also breaking down the different characters for you and letting you know when they first appeared, what issues they were in, and maybe just a little background on them to pique your interest. So until next time, thank you guys, and be well.